Before his death, Dean Martin revealed Hollywood's prostitution system. The king of cool finally stopped performing and started telling the truth. Truth not meant for microphones. Truth whispered through cigarette smoke, late at night, when the money was already counted and the women had already been traded. Dean Martin didn't look at Hollywood through rose-tinted glasses. He looked at it like a seasoned gambler looks at a rigged table. He knew the rules. In this town, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Beauty is currency, and innocence depreciates faster than cash. Cast aside the romantic reels. Pour yourself a stiff drink. Because Dean Martin is about to walk you through 5 chapters of a brutal dossier. A story Hollywood never wanted told. A world where the line between a silver screen goddess and a high-class call girl was thinner than a martini glass. Number 1. Marilyn Monroe. If anyone had the right to speak honestly about Hollywood, it was Dean Martin. A founding member of the Rat Pack. A man worshipped in Vegas and adored in Hollywood. A man who had seen money, power, and flesh traded in back rooms under the polite disguise of art. In his final years, when the applause faded and the lights dimmed, Dean Martin held a drink in his hand and spoke the first name on his list. A name that silenced rooms with admiration. Marilyn Monroe. But for Dean, that name didn't conjure glamour. It brought sadness. Because behind the icon was a girl who had been sold piece by piece just to survive. To understand Marilyn Monroe, you must forget the white dress billowing over a subway grate. Forget the laughter. Forget the blonde bombshell fantasy. Rewind to the late 1940s, when she was still Norma Jean Baker. Hungry, broke, a brunette nobody with no connections in a town ruled by kings. Hollywood back then had one unspoken rule. If you didn't have money, talent wasn't enough. For girls like Norma Jean, there was only one door into fame. And it wasn't the studio gate. It was the bedroom door. Before Marilyn Monroe became a global sex symbol, she endured nights of humiliation Hollywood history prefers to erase. Dean Martin heard it from people who were there. Frank Sinatra, producers, mob-connected fixers. Marilyn wasn't invited to parties as a guest. She was served as dessert. She operated as a high-class escort long before she ever starred in a major film. Small roles were paid for in flesh, not contracts. In 1949, when she posed nude on red velvet for $50, it wasn't art. It was rent money. It was survival. At lavish producer mansions, Marilyn smiled that famous smile. But Dean remembered her eyes. Empty, fearful, resigned. She knew the rules. If she wanted a speaking line, she had to please the man at the head of the table. They called it the casting couch. But for Marilyn, it wasn't a couch, it was midnight phone calls. Private hotel rooms. No scripts, just powerful men waiting. Dean once admitted something chilling. Marilyn's innocence on screen was the greatest acting performance of her life. Because in reality, she had grown up too fast in a brutal meat market. There were whispered stories in Vegas that Marilyn was presented to underworld figures connected to the Rat Pack. Not as a star, as a gift. She didn't resist, because resistance meant exile. Back to factory wages. Back to hunger. What haunted Dean Martin most wasn't what Marilyn did. It was what Hollywood did to her. They sold her body, turned her into a sex symbol, then judged her for surviving the system they created. She wasn't immoral. She was trapped. When Dean raised his glass to Marilyn, he didn't see the Playboy cover. He saw Norma Jean, a trembling girl stepping out of a tycoon's bedroom at dawn, clutching a check, forcing lipstick onto swollen lips, pretending dignity still existed. Marilyn Monroe isn't remembered here to shame her. She stands as proof of Dean Martin's brutal truth. In Hollywood, everything has a price, and sometimes the price is your soul. Number 2, Joan Crawford, the she-wolf who sold herself to win. If Marilyn was a lamb devoured by wolves, Joan Crawford walked into the den with her chin raised and her teeth bared. The public saw elegance, grace, royal poise carved from bone and discipline. Dean Martin saw Lucille Lesueur, hungry, ruthless, terrified of ever being powerless again. Before the fame, before the gowns, the Oscars, the marble staircases, Joan Crawford danced in seedy nightclubs in Chicago and Detroit. taxi dance halls, places where men paid for 3 minutes of touch, paid more for privacy, and paid even more to believe the girl smiling at them had no choice. These weren't stages. They were disguised meat markets. And Joan learned fast. She learned how to smile without giving too much, how to bargain without words, how to survive by offering just enough and never forgetting who was watching. Those lessons followed her to Hollywood. So did the rumors. A rumor MGM buried at all costs. A stag film. A pornographic reel from her desperate youth. Grainy, humiliating, undeniable. Blackmail that could have ended her before she ever began. Eddie Mannix, MGM's fixer, stepped in. The price was steep. $100,000 paid quietly, efficiently. The reel was burned. The past erased. Lucille LeSueur died that day. Joan Crawford was reborn as Hollywood royalty. But Dean Martin saw what the public never did, the scar tissue beneath the glamour. Her obsession with control. Her pathological cleanliness. Her icy, militarized perfection. She scrubbed floors because she couldn't scrub memory. She enforced order because chaos once owned her. Joan Crawford wasn't weak. She was a survivor who paid with her humanity. She traded flesh for power, and she won. But the victory cost her warmth, cost her softness, cost her peace. Hollywood crowned her a queen, and left her alone on the throne. Chapter 3, Lana Turner, the Mafia's Bedside Trophy. Lana Turner didn't sell herself for money. She sold something far more valuable. She sold her fame. She lent her halo to men who thrived in shadows. Men who understood power not as influence, but as fear. Dean Martin knew the Mafia well. He drank with them, performed for them, shared jokes with men who never laughed unless someone else was paying for it later. And no star crossed into their world deeper than Lana Turner. Her affair with gangster Johnny Stompanato wasn't romance. It was a contract. He displayed her like a luxury car. Polished, expensive, meant to be seen and envied. She enjoyed the danger, the access, the illusion of control that came from being desired by a violent man who answered to no one. For a while, she believed she was untouchable. Fame made her feel armored. Public adoration felt like protection. She thought the spotlight would keep her safe. Until it didn't. Until the violence started. He beat her, controlled her movements, monitored her calls, decided who she could see, and when. And when she tried to pull away, he threatened the one thing she truly owned. Her face, her livelihood, her escape. Hollywood watched, whispered, closed its doors. Because scandals were only dangerous when they hurt the studios, not when they hurt the women. In 1958, the illusion finally collapsed. In a bedroom filled with fear and shouting, Lana's teenage daughter stabbed Johnny Stompanato to death to save her mother. A murder that shocked America. A trial that turned a child into a witness. A moment that exposed what Hollywood had allowed to happen behind closed doors. Dean Martin saw something most people missed. Lana Turner didn't control the beast. She fed it. She mistook proximity to power for safety. She confused attention with protection. She believed danger was manageable, as long as it came wrapped in luxury. Dean said it best. She thought she was holding the leash, but she was just bait. Chapter 4, Jane Mansfield, the genius who sold flesh for applause. Jane Mansfield had an IQ of 163. She spoke 5 languages fluently. She played the violin like a master. She could have been a scholar, a diplomat, a virtuoso. But she understood something brutal, something the rest of the world refused to admit. Men didn't want intelligence. They wanted spectacle. They wanted easy amusement. They wanted a doll that could smile at the right moment, giggle on cue, and leave them thinking they were in control. So Jane became that doll. She turned herself into dessert at political banquets. A living prop for powerful egos. Every laugh was measured. Every curve calculated. Every glance strategically placed. Wardrobe malfunctions weren't accidents. They were strategy. She learned to bend physics and fashion alike to ensure the flashbulbs always captured her. She traded dignity for headlines, attention for survival, flattery for the powerful. And the public? They ate it up. They didn't know she was sacrificing her mind and her privacy on the altar of fame. Every exaggerated gesture, every giggle, every scandalous photo was part of a plan. A carefully executed contract with Hollywood itself. When the public grew bored, Hollywood discarded her. No one mourned the loss of intelligence. No one cared about her musical talent or linguistic skill. All that mattered were the breasts and the smiles. She died at 34, a genius buried beneath tabloid ink and the very spectacle she had mastered. Her legacy wasn't in the music she could have played, the languages she could have spoken, or the mind she could have shared with the world. Her legacy was in flashes of light, fleeting applause, and the memory of a woman who paid for survival with the one thing she couldn't afford to lose: herself. Dean Martin remembered her not as a scandal, not as a beauty, but as a caution. A reminder that even brilliance can be consumed by the machinery of Hollywood if it isn't packaged for their appetites. Chapter 5. Barbara Stanwyck, the woman who beat the devil. Barbara Stanwyck didn't pretend. She never smiled for the wrong people. She never offered herself when it wasn't worth the price. Born Ruby Stevens, orphaned at 4, raised in poverty. She knew hunger before she knew glamour. She danced in speakeasies. She served powerful men. She learned early that in this world, beauty alone wasn't enough. But unlike the others, she learned the game and then flipped it. She became the predator, not the prey. She turned humiliation into armor. Every insult, every slight, every touch she did not want became fuel for her ascent. Dean Martin respected her most of all. She didn't beg Hollywood. She didn't plead for roles. She conquered it. She understood the leverage she had and wielded it with precision. And yet, even she paid a price. Her triumph wasn't without scars. A heart that never truly learned how to be loved. A life where trust was always measured. Even in luxury, even on red carpets, even behind Oscar statuettes, she carried the weight of her beginnings. Barbara Stanwyck's story wasn't tragedy. It was survival perfected. A warning and a lesson wrapped in elegance and steel. Tell me in the comments. And if you want to uncover more secrets Hollywood buried under velvet and gold, subscribe now, because the story was never meant to end. And the walls of Hollywood still whisper truths the world refuses to see.